first thing I want to ask you guys is, what's it been like? Your game's been out for some time now, at least in October. It is now February. What's it been like seeing this game evolve and getting to the hands of tens of thousands of players?
Awesome. Yeah. I mean, we've talked about it. This isn't our first time talking after release. Yeah, it's exciting that people are still coming in. People are still discovering it. I think that the Ghostbusters community is, taking it on and embracing it well. I feel like the league is a great sign to show that, like, the hardcore play is there. Yeah, really for us, it's the support that we have and the support that we have planned, and all of the great things in the future that I'm not going to talk about in this call. But yeah, I mean, it's been awesome. It's been really a fun growth and evolution that we're not even done with. Yeah, we'll make you scream again, I promise.
You keep saying that, both of you guys keep saying, "Oh, we're just getting started." How awfully cryptic.
We have to be cryptic, man. That's probably the only thing I could get approved nowadays.
Jordan, what about you?
I mean, yeah, it's truly been incredible to finally see this project go out there. Like that's always the moment you're waiting for as you're working on it, and internally just kind of pulling everything together and getting it all done. You're just thinking about what people are going to think about it, and if they're going to enjoy it and what they're going to enjoy specifically about it. So to actually see it out there, not only with Ghostbuster fans, but just anyone that games, being able to watch them play it and see the different ways that they enjoy playing it, as well as gathering the feedback and implementing to see and show that we're willing to evolve and fix things and get everything into the best shape possible for the players.
Now, we've talked about this a little bit before with you, Jared, but now that I have Jordan here, I want to ask him, you have so many systems going on in this game. Like, I played a lot of games, and a lot of the games are like the systems that you can pick them out. Oh, there's one system there, there's a system there. You have so many systems in this game. You have tethering, you have heating, you have trap mini games, you have trap physics mechanics, you have prop mechanics, you have jumping mechanics, you have phasing mechanics, slime mechanics, so many mechanics and systems. Is there any particular one, from your perspective, Jordan, that was really difficult to nail down?
I would say that out of everything, not only difficulty is a tough one. I think it was very enjoyable, even though it was difficult. Was definitely the main loop of the tethering into trapping mechanics that exist. There was a lot of thought that we put into that to try and make sure that what we were doing was really kind of creating this unique experience that hadn't really been done, especially in like a multiplayer environment, to see these things come together to make people feel like they're wielding the particle thrower, like they're managing this heat pack on, like this thing heating up on their back as they're firing all this massive amounts of energy out, and what that interaction between them and the ghost would feel like, so that it's like you catch a ghost on the end of your line and you're able to manipulate and bring it into a targeted location, which is hopefully the trap if you're doing good at your job. So I feel like that one was difficult to nail and took a long time to iterate on and bring together, but all in all, I feel like it came out really well. And it was a lot of fun to put together.
Jared, do you have anything you want to add to that?
I just, it's just that reiteration of, like, this wasn't designed by us. We took an old movie and we made it a game, and it's just so funny to me that it worked out, and that a couple of comedians wrote this mechanic that became a really cool game mechanic. It's so funny to me, like, just how this wild movie became honestly a really fun game that we got to make. It's so weird. Can't think of many movies that's like, it's maybe like lightsabers from Star Wars. Like, that's something that has become timeless that you see over and over again. But like the idea of throwing an object out that then you need to trap this this ghost and bring it to the ghost trap and make that happen, like, that was just it's so funny that actually worked out, and it's a really fun mechanic.
Can you guys walk us through, like, and you don't have to get into specifics, but like, say there's a bug or an issue with balance or whatever, walk us through like the process of like fixing that, like from step A, from recognizing the problem to fixing the problem, just so like players who are always pounding their players on this, fix this now, right? It takes time. Like, paint a picture for us. Talk about how that process evolves to eventually getting patched and fixed or updated.
Me yelling at Jordan.
So after Jared yells at me, I then go. There's so many different ways that we encounter these types of things, and it really comes down to, like, video games are immense, and like you were describing, there's a lot of different types of features that go into our game specifically. On top of that, it's multiplayer, so there's a lot of layers that make these things that we're making very difficult to describe and kind of cover all the bases. So we're doing our best to bring together this product that we can then make sure that anything that's happening incorrectly is resolved in a timely manner. So it all kind of comes down to making sure that we recognize how serious the bug is, who it's affecting, how often is it happening, how consistently is this issue becoming an issue for players, and how frequently that's going on. We then consider, what is it touching, because some things can just be numbers, very simple things that it's like, oh, that number is incorrect, which is causing some math to go wrong in this gameplay calculation. But other times it can actually be code issues that go into deeper systems that start to touch other systems, which then create more difficult scenarios to fix, because you're potentially breaking and causing things to break in other areas if that bug was just covering up some other issue.
Kind of like an automobile recall.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's all about
yeah. There's a lot of equations. I mean, that's the thing. It's like, why can't they just fix this one thing? It's like, well, it has that domino effect. It changes other things, and it changes another element. It changes another element, and then there's factors where it's like, honestly, sometimes there's things that are not on the development side that have to get dealt with, and sometimes there's things that are, I feel like this is kind of excuses, blah blah blah. What's easy? Coming up with an idea. It's hard executing the idea. Man, I've got this awesome idea for an electric plane. Why can't they make an electric plane? It's like, well, Jared, you need to, it's like, so I mean, it's just like, that's the thing. It's like, making games takes years, and making a perfect game is difficult to do. I think that, that's the great part about what we're doing with this game, is we're not, setting it out and be like, cool, have fun with Ghostbusters game. We're going to go work on our next.
We're done.
Yeah. And I mean, look at what we've done with Predator. Look at what we've done with Arcade-Ageddon. Like, we don't just get the game out and then walk away. There's certain things that we have no control over a lot of times, but once again, I don't want to make excuses for things that no one really gives a shit about. People care about the game and the product that they have, and so that's what we want to continue working on, and that's what we keep on working on. And we're not done. Like, that's the really cool part. So as more feedback comes in, like Jordan watched your hour-long diatribe. I thought
I was pretty kind. I thought it was pretty kind.
I listen, man, I had a weekend with my family. I saw that. I was like, cool. I will look at that at some point in my work hours. But it is just one of those things where Jordan's been watching that. Like, there's a lot of things that we, agree with, and there's a lot of things that are in the works, and there's a lot of things that are honestly already done. And it's not like just a little bit of game development. It's not like you fix something and then you just flip it out and it's done. You fix something, you get it through QA, your internal QA, then you have to bring it through other QAs and other developer and other platform QAs, and that's the thing. It's
cert,
like, that's the timelines and certs and all that stuff. But it's we're working at it. We're going to continue hammering on this project, and man, it is tough but amazing, and it's kind of crazy that it's a career, but making video games it's not like making a house. it's very very interesting, all the elements that you have to come across with,
because you guys have all that data. You have like the win-loss ratios of ghosts, like how many minutes is a match. You have all that data you can look at that we don't have at disposal of. Do you have like a win-to-loss ratio for Ghost and Ghostbusters you can share, like right now in the current?
Not that we can share, no.
Right, that's what I figured.
But we have it. We data mine the crap out of our game. I mean, that's the great part, is that's the thing that allows us to make our decisions. Like, that's day one we're hitting F5 on like win-loss. Day one we're hitting all of that stuff. We've been doing that since Predator, and that's kind of the gauge. It's all about gauges. So it's like win-loss. Okay, what's the win-loss? Okay, let's look at the degree of the win-loss. Let's look at X, Y, and Z elements. Okay, that might drive us to an area to look at, and then we take notes in our play tests. We play test all the time. Jordan's constantly watching streams and YouTube videos, so am I, and it's just, so it's like we get a little glimpse of what it could be in live. Data mine, and then that's where a lot of those decisions come from. Because I don't know if you know this, but when we released the game, a lot of people said X was overpowered and Y was overpowered that were completely different. And we knew it was overpowered from the data, and we fixed a lot of those things. And so now the win losses are a lot more equal, but there's a lot of those asymmetrical things that you have to figure out, because the last thing we want to do is just like play that pendulum system where it's like, oh, go it over here, now it's broken on this way, now it goes pendulum
The
over there.
knee-jerk,
So it's
yeah.
you gotta really kind of tightly dial it in. You can't just like throw things. So Jordan's done an amazing job at that as well.
And letting things marinate is important. There's obviously things that are pretty recognizable very quickly, but sometimes it does take, if you're trying to make some bigger, wider sweeping changes to see effects later on, you need to give it some time for people to set in and recognize the update to that change. But just in general, like Jared was saying, yeah, you want to just avoid that big swinging back and forth, because that's what makes it feel unstable if it's going way too far in either directions consistently, compared to if we get it to a nice spot and then just start to bring it into that nice sweet spot that we can eventually hit once we're kind of analyzing what we feel is really affecting those wins and losses.
Jordan, my next question is for you. You have such an really brilliant, I think, game loop happening. You have like a hunt, like there's like a hunt segment, then you have an engagement segment, then like a reset segment. So what are some of the challenges when getting that loop to define? Because sometimes I've played games where like you're just constantly stuck in the battle segment, or you're constantly stuck in the running segment. Like honestly, it's a really cool design. Like it's a really brilliant design in my opinion. Like what are some of the challenges when you were making that game loop and making sure that, I don't know if it's intentional, so if it's supposed to be 1-to-1 of battle, hiding, and haunting, or if it's like a mesh of all of them? Like talk a little about that system.
A lot of that, I mean, it's that breaks down to a lot, because like the asymmetrical thing is a big part of being able to put that together, but also the biggest hindrance in trying to hit that pacing, because you can find pretty quickly that when you're kind of dealing with two different sides, but then one side isn't always the same number or power, because you've got busters that don't work together, you've got busters that are going to comm civies, sometimes you have 4 busters working together in unison, a perfect team. You instantly have all these variables that get thrown into the equation, but through kind of keeping a close eye on the ways that they're engaging, through the cooldowns of the ghost abilities, through the different statistics of kind of the standard buster equipment at any given time, you can really kind of pace it out. In addition to kind of the layouts of our maps, as well as the sizes, the movement speeds, were all specifically reined into a place that allowed us to keep that from just turning into one thing all the time, and give it that breathing room so that the ghost can escape and get out of there, so that everyone cools off, is able to kind of reset, get their PKEs back rebooted, and then go into the re-engagement phase if they have a signal. So just a lot of time and play testing, really, on top of having all those elements. We really dialed in to what we felt was a nice pacing throughout the length of kind of the standard match, all leading up to, of course, that big finale. We wanted to keep people engaged.
And then since the release of 1.4, you've added Muncher and the 2 new gadgets, as well as a level. Has there been any fun ways you've seen people utilize Muncher or the new belt gizmos or the pylon at all since you've released into the wild?
Yeah, I haven't seen like any serious strats with the belt gizmo yet. I'm curious. I think that one's going to take some time to marinate, to have people feel what the real use case can really come to, because you can really be that kind of sneak up artist when you're on the buster side to kind of throw them off guard. But the disruptor pylon has always been fun. Like even through our internal testing, there's just been a lot of instances of things that happen with the way people plant them, kind of cordon off different sections of the map that really kind of funnel the ghost into locations, and then seeing the ghost try and take those down specifically is always interesting, because there's a couple different ways to do it.
When you mentioned the belt gizmo, because when you show what that does, a lot of the community like dismissed it, but I'm like, if you had 4, you know how much I use ghost vision? I use it all the time, and if I can't see where they are and I turn the corner and they're in front of me, that's such a useful tool. He said some of these things are like a slow burn that they need to figure out, because people were used to playing a certain way for 4 months.
Exactly, and that's kind of what I was talking about with like the kind of letting things marinate a little bit, is seeing how people can respond to learning the gadgets, or any kind of feature for that matter, and understanding where the most effective ways to use it are, including just me being able to observe that too, because there's so many different types of gameplay and people out there that once they begin to kind of tap into all the different things that we've given them, they begin to utilize those in their strategies in ways that sometimes we don't always foresee, which is kind of fun because then it teaches us a lesson and gives them kind of an extra way so that we can look at that specific thing and be like, oh, that is a great way to utilize this. Like I didn't even think that you could kind of team up and have this perfect scenario that unfolds with using a new thing that gets implemented. As for Muncher stuff, it's interesting with how much difference kind of comes forward with the different type of gameplay that it provides, and seeing how people handle the different ways that can unfold, how they're able to kind of get and manage their consume, their bloat meter to make sure that they're kind of ready at all times if they're going to use their ultimates, as well as kind of balancing that, like, oh, do I actually need to fully consume all these items, or am I just working off of the health bars to keep my hiding places around? I think people have begun to understand some of the little ins and outs of that pretty well.
The new map 2 facility is a really brilliant design. A lot of verticality, nice, cool, fun routes you can run. Lots of places for the ghost to escape. Can you talk about what into the design and energy into that level specifically?
And that was Hunter. He's a madman. Like he's just really a great level designer that takes level design to such a high level. With his white boxing, he gets his white boxes done, and then they get the art team. I mean, literally, it's just like last time we talked about. It's like, here are just ideas of the locations, and then he just white boxes it out, and then we get a concept artist to do some concept paint overs, and then then it just starts to form from this just kind of like non-aesthetic gray box map that has like cool location, like shapes and objects, and then it just gets more and more built and structured, and then it just becomes this this crazy map. Like, can't wait for you to see the other ones, because like he's just cranking these really cool maps out, and we're getting a lot of really great stuff, and the art team is just really hitting its stride. It's awesome how quickly, and then also just we have so many assets that we're just using from other maps to build it out, to flesh these maps out so much quicker. So it's really cool. It's really cool.
Yeah, speaking to your art team, they're absolutely killing it. The RGB stuff looks phenomenal. The PKE, I can't get over how good the RGB PKE looks. Look, whoever was designing those did a really awesome job, and you can tell them for me that's fantastic.
Well, it was whoever the guys that drew it in the 80s.
Right.
I mean, we just traced it, really.
Right, but taking something 2D though, and then having to make it into 3D model that looks good, it can be difficult.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of these have been, we have surprisingly top-notch concept team. And in many ways, we've got great outsourcers that we use. We've got, it's an absolute team effort. When it was, like, hey, let's do these shells, and we're listing out all the cool shells that we wanted to do. RGB stuff was like, we need this. It was underway before that, like, the tweet of like, hey, what do you guys want to see? And it was funny because everyone's saying, this hair, this glasses, this, and I'm just like, okay, cool. Like it's just a good reinforcement that we had the pulse, but it's just really funny that, like, man, we've been sitting on that for months and months and months, and it's just been like, oh God, can we just announce it? And for you to say, like, you could have done a trailer for it, you could have done whatever with it. Right. It's like, yeah, but we wanted to get it out, and it was one of those scenarios where it's just, we just wanted it out. We didn't want to sit on it and tease it. Like we could have done something like before Christmas break and like teased it out, got you guys all crazed and like, I want it out now. Because I mean, that's the thing. I feel like with a game that's live and you show what's coming, it's like, cool, give it to me now. And so we're doing some stuff, we're teasing some stuff, and then some stuff it's just a surprise day one to let people just jump in that day and be able to run and get it. So yeah,
you go to Ghost Corps all the time to like talk to them and work with them and stuff. Next time we're down there, can you please ask who the hell owns the rights to those damn sound effects?
Bro, they're all in London right now, man.
Oh, I want to get them in the game. I want to get the RGB sound effects in the game.
If only games could get modded,
right? Like, live service games specifically.
I miss the day of just like, I want this sound, so I'm just gonna place it. But I mean, that's the thing. It's like I don't like Ghost Corps didn't exist when that show was being done. So it's not like any of those guys would know. That's the crazy part, is like Ghost Corps is formed to from, you know, X point on be the stewards of it all. But yeah, I like, man, I don't even know how we would track that down. We would have to find, and that's the crazy part, is like one of those scenarios of like, oh, I've got the sound. It's like, okay, cool. If, you know, it's just licensing and you know, you don't want to mess with people that might have better lawyers than you, honestly.
Yeah,
So,
you accidentally think something's clean, you put it in your game, and now you're being sued for millions of dollars. Yeah.
And you know, back then it's like, who knows who owns the rights to that? Like, that could have been a sample off of something else that was cleared by them, but it was owned by someone else. I mean, getting the rights to the Ray Parker song, man, like that was a feat. Getting the rights to Magic, man, that was even crazier. But like, that's the thing, it's like with a lot of those elements, the rights of things, it's just like the development of stuff. It's just business and people that make money off a lot of things that, you know, might have better lawyers than you.
And you still have a game to make. Like, you can't spend all these resources and time trying to track down 5 sound effects when you have a game, when you have 3 games to manage. You know, like it's difficult, or a game to design, like with Jordan, like, it takes time. So basically, you just tell me it's in copyright limbo. We have no idea where it is. It could be somewhere, I don't know. Figure it out. If everyone's watching this, reach out to IllFonic and tell them you have the rights to the music or the sound effects. There you go, right there. Can you tell us anything about what to expect next from Spirits Unleashed?
More.
Much more.
Just more.
That is much.
If you have played our previous games, a lot of our playbook is already public. You know, what we've done for a lot of our games, we've you know, it's, you could imagine with this DLC drop, what else could we do for the future? You could take that and extrapolate. But we also do have some pretty rad, mind-blowing stuff that I'm beyond excited about, but not right now.
Perfect. Jordan, anything to add?
Nope. It's
That's what he said. Yeah. Much is coming. Really exciting.
Whatever Jared said.